The barn once stood as my refuge, a quiet sanctuary where shadows whispered secrets in the stillness. But one night, an ordinary meeting with our horse took an unexpected turn, casting shadows over my convictions about trust, boundaries, and the desires that lay hidden within me. What began as an ordinary occurrence soon unraveled into something far more complex. That was the story I was given from the start. As my husband embarked on his work journey, the air in our home thickened with an unsettling stillness, a profound solitude that seemed to whisper secrets of its own. Drawn by an unshakable pull, I approached the barn, retracing steps taken countless times before. Yet this time felt different, charged with an unsettling anticipation. Bobby, our enigmatic chestnut-colored coursel, had always been a source of intrigue, a presence that stirred the depths of my daily existence. Yet, that afternoon, an unsettling sensation lingered, a change that defied explanation. Within the dim confines of the barn, I stepped over a line I had never anticipated, one that shattered the very foundations of trust, loyalty, and my understanding of our bond. Our daily routine, shared between my husband and me, had always unfolded with an unsettling predictability, cloaked in a veneer of comfort. He immersed himself in the depths of his work at the company, frequently disappearing on business trips while I remained behind, alone in the shadows of our home. We had constructed a life intertwined with fleeting moments, shared dinners, hushed weekends, and the lingering hours spent in front of the screen, each second heavy with unspoken words. Yet, lurking beneath that facade, an unsettling void lingered. It was an elusive presence, something intangible that slipped through my fingers, leaving me with an unsettling sense of uncertainty. As time slipped away, an unsettling sense of separation began to loom between us, growing ever more palpable with each passing day. In those moments, I discovered solace in the unwavering presence of our loyal coursel. On our farm, horses were a constant presence, nestled in a secluded corner of the city, a tranquil refuge where I discovered solace. The barn, seemingly untouched by time, loomed in the center of a field that stretched out like a silent enigma. My husband had a deep affection for horses, sensing the tranquility they brought him, yet they always appeared to be nothing more than a mere pastime in his life. From my vantage point, those entities embodied a link to something far more profound, a means of escaping the drudgery of everyday life. I often found myself drawn to the barn, returning time and again, as if something unseen beckoned me from within its shadows. My role was to tend to the horses, finding solace in their gentle presence during the times my husband was absent. Thus, the connection with Coco was forged. A vivid recollection lingers in my mind of that solitary moment as I stepped into the barn, the air thick with an unsettling silence, my husband away on one of his work trips. The air was thick with an unsettling blend of freshness, hay, and damp earth that invaded my senses. In the dimly lit barn, a magnificent creature stood poised, a coursel named Coco, shrouded in an air of intrigue. Its presence was striking, a rich brown coat glistening under the afternoon light that filtered through the barn's windows, casting an air of intrigue and anticipation. Those eyes, a deep and intense shade of brown, held a vitality that felt almost alive, as if they were studying me with a curious intensity. Never had I found myself so close to him before. He had always been my husband's loyal companion, yet on that fateful occasion, an unexpected allure stirred within me. An intense bond stirred within me as I encountered Apollo, a sense of shared presence and unspoken comprehension lingering in the air. I lingered by the barn's entrance, my thoughts swirling as I watched him intently. He lowered his gaze, his nostrils flaring as he released a breath that enveloped the space between us. With caution, I crept forward, each step laden with uncertainty. I approached him with a soft demeanor, my words slipping out in a hushed whisper, almost lost in the air between us. As the words escaped my lips, an unsettling feeling washed over me. They felt strangely foreign, echoing with an unspoken weight. Yet an inexplicable force stirred within me, compelling me to speak to him as though he possessed the ability to comprehend my words. From him, an immediate sense of trust enveloped me, yet shadows lingered just beneath the surface. Bobby, that name, appeared to sense my fragility just as I became aware of his. In the days that followed, I found myself drawn to the barn, lingering in its shadows. Whenever my husband departed, I found myself drawn to Bobby, gently grooming his fur, tending to his helmets, and often lingering beside him in the quietude of the barn. Though I cannot guarantee it, each moment spent in his presence enveloped me in a profound tranquility, an emotional release I had yearned for deeply. And so the days slipped away, shrouded in uncertainty. My husband's prolonged absences deepened the shadows of uncertainty, and with each passing moment, I found myself drawn closer to Bobby. He appeared to grasp the unspoken turmoil within me. His presence enveloped me in a shroud of reassurance. As I embraced him, an unsettling sensation washed over me, as if I were slipping into a realm where the weight of time vanished, leaving only the intensity of now. The rhythm of his gallop became my refuge, the wind whispering through my hair, while the clatter of helmets beneath me echoed with an unsettling unfamiliarity. Yet, on a seemingly ordinary day, the course of events shifted in an unforeseen direction. Initially, the scene unfolded in eerie calm, a deceptive stillness enveloping the barn. After spending the afternoon immersed in its completion, an inexplicable force compelled me to linger as I prepared to dismantle it. Leaving was not an option. I found myself unable to articulate the reasons behind my reluctance. Amidst the shadows of uncertainty, an undeniable yearning stirred within me, demanding attention. As my fingers glided through Bobby's soft hair, an unexpected warmth enveloped us, deepening the bond we had forged in the weeks prior, hinting at something unspoken yet palpable between us. With a sense of urgency, I moved closer to him, my hands reaching out further than I intended. His posture shifted, subtly inclining towards me, as if his body was responding to my every move in an unexpected manner. Initially, the atmosphere was delicate, demanding a shift in his stance that sparked an unspoken bond between us, a shared understanding that I sensed instantly. In that instant, a profound understanding washed over me, revealing the extraordinary nature of the experience, one that would seem unfathomable to those untouched by it. Yet, I sensed the haunting presence of Apollo lurking in the shadows of my soul. It felt as though it had woven itself into my very being, where his thoughts quietly intertwined with my own. It was something deeper, a pull that transcended mere attraction, lurking in the shadows of their connection. Yet, an unsettling energy lingered in the air each time our paths crossed. I attempted to push it away, to bury it deep within, yet it lingered, an unrelenting presence that haunted me time and time again. Each time my husband departed, I discovered a sanctuary of solace and companionship within the stable, just beside Acapulco. The nights in solitude within the residence grew ever colder and more desolate. I sat in utter silence, the wind's eerie whispers outside echoing through the stillness, as I awaited my husband's return. Even with him physically there, an unsettling chasm grew between us, deepening the sense of disconnection. Our exchanges felt different, shrouded in an unspoken tension that set him apart from Apollo. The silence enveloped me, leaving me bewildered as I grappled with the unspoken demands that lingered in the shadows. Yet, Apollo grasped the unspoken truth that lingered in the air. As the shadows deepened and the weight of the day pressed heavily upon me, I found myself drawn back to the stable, unable to resist the allure that had haunted my thoughts, despite my efforts to distract myself with other concerns. Yet, the tightness in my chest grew increasingly oppressive. Apollo lingered in the shadows, anticipation hanging thick in the air as I approached. I rushed to the location, driven by an unshakable resolve, my mind racing with anticipation. In the enveloping shadows, the sole beacon within the barn was the dim shimmer of the moon, seeping through the fissures in the walls. Apollo lingered in the shadows, an unsettling calmness enveloping him, as though he had been anticipating my arrival all along. His unwavering and intense gaze pierced through the air, leaving an undeniable impression on me. In that instant, I stood frozen, absorbing the cool night air, desperately attempting to steady the frantic rhythm of my heart. In that exact instant, everything changed. Uncertainty loomed as I reached out to caress Apollo's hair. In that instant, an unspoken shift rippled through our bond. The union had transcended the emotional. The abyss loomed larger than ever. In a fleeting moment, the unsettling truth dawned on me. I had crossed an unseen boundary. I returned, acutely aware of the rapid thumping of my heart, grappling with the weight of my recent choices and the uncertainty that loomed over them. Yet the truth lingered in the shadows. I was resolute in my determination to press on. In that fleeting instant, the undeniable bond between Apollo and me loomed large, shrouded in an enigmatic aura that left me questioning its very source. A presence that had taken hold within me, lingering and demanding my attention. The time stretched on, lingering in an unsettling way. His intention lingered in the shadows, a silent promise of what lay ahead. It was the onset of an inescapable fate. With each passing day, the situation grew more intense, enveloping everything in an unsettling grip. As my husband remained away on business, I found myself drawn back to the stable time and again. I found myself at a loss for the right name to bestow upon him. All I knew for certain was that his absence was unbearable, yet the tale was far from its conclusion. In that fleeting instant, as I stepped across the border for the first time, a chilling doubt gripped me, whispering that perhaps I had erred in my decision. I envisioned it would be something utterly extraordinary. It would be a cause for deep sorrow. I would conceal it in the darkest recesses of my soul, praying that it would remain forever shrouded in shadows. I attempted to convince myself that I was merely confused, that the absence of companionship in my life had clouded my judgment. Yet therein lay the challenge. It was no mere error. There was no room for error. It transformed into a necessity, shrouded in uncertainty, a palpable tension that deepened with each visit to the barn. Apollo held a significance that transcended his existence as merely a horse on the farm. He emerged as an enigmatic figure, a constant presence amidst the swirling chaos of my existence. Even in his absence, the shadow of his presence lingered, haunting my every step. In the stillness of my solitude, as I lingered within the confines of my home, an unsettling whirlwind of thoughts about him consumed my mind. The way his fur glimmered in the sunlight, the subtle shifts of the muscles beneath his skin as he moved, made it feel as though I could sense the intensity radiating from his response to my presence. The moments I shared with Apollo unfolded like a hidden narrative, a sanctuary where I could unwind and ponder the unspoken. It was more than mere proximity. What drew me into the realm of physics was the profound silence that enveloped the space, the haunting emptiness that lingered between individuals. His manner of conveying thoughts hinted at a deeper significance, one that lingered in the air, far beyond the mere words spoken. Apollo enveloped me in a profound sense of recognition, understanding, and yearning, all conveyed in the silence that hung between us. He sensed it lurking in the shadows. Each passing year, every glance held an unspoken bond that lingered in the air, thick with unexpressed emotions. It was sufficient. An overwhelming surge of heat coursed through my body, a force I could neither comprehend nor contain. I tried to reason with myself, to convince my mind of the absurdity of it all, that I was alone, that I should find a way to steady my racing heart. Yet the tension only deepened, leaving me in a state of unease. Yet an inexplicable pull drew me back to the stable time and again. It was not solely due to my husband's absence. In the past, he frequently found himself unwell due to the pressures of his job. Yet I found myself immersed in the complexities of my own existence. I could have chosen to venture out with friends, immerse myself in my passions, or step back into the familiar confines of my job. Yet the truth lingered in the shadows. I found no warmth for anyone else. I found myself yearning for solitude, an escape from the thrumming presence of others. I hesitated to fill the emptiness with anything trivial. My longing was to be entwined with Apollo. After the transformation that unfolded between us that night, sleep became an elusive stranger, slipping through my fingers like shadows in the dark. After a week shrouded in uncertainty, my husband finally stepped back through the door. Even though joy surged within me at his return, an unsettling void lingered as we lay together in the darkness that night. The steady breath echoed, deepening the turmoil swirling in my mind. My mind was clouded, unable to grasp the rhythm of Apollo's movements or the warmth radiating from his body. In my mind, the scenes unfolded endlessly, a relentless reel that refused to fade away. Bathed in the pale glow of the moon, the field revealed a haunting choice before me, a delicate balance between the life I had built with my husband and the enigmatic bond that was slowly taking shape with Apollo. I arrived back from the farm a few hours past, the air thick with unspoken secrets. Yet an unsettling sensation crept across my skin, leaving me on edge. The echoes of that event lingered on my skin, a haunting reminder of the unfolding shadows. Apollo's presence enveloped the atmosphere, creating an unsettling tension that hung in the air, a peculiar cadence that held me spellbound. I attempted to separate it, but he refused to allow me to proceed. There was no way out of the predicament. As I approached the bed once more, my movements were deliberate and measured, as though I were caught in a surreal reverie. As the storm drew near, my husband lay in a deep slumber, unaware of the brewing chaos, his back turned to me, the steady rhythm of his breath the only sound in the tense silence. Within me, the silence loomed heavy, a palpable void where words should have been exchanged. Once, I held steadfast to the bond we shared, but now an unsettling void lingers where our emotional connection once thrived. Turning a blind eye to the unfolding events had transformed into an insurmountable challenge. My husband was a man of integrity, yet fate dealt him a cruel hand, and in that moment I felt an unsettling indifference. The following day, a sense of awareness enveloped me, hinting at an opportunity lurking just beyond the shadows. My husband arranged a meeting with a partner, leaving me alone once more, shrouded in uncertainty. Enveloped by the echoing whispers of the house and the soft rustle of the fields beyond, I felt a disquieting sense of confusion, unaware of the force compelling me forward. The way Apollo's gaze pierced through me during our encounters was unsettling, leaving me to wonder if it was merely the magnetic pull of a longing I had fought to suppress for far too long. I moved forward without a second thought. Upon discovering my husband's sudden departure, I rushed to the barn, an unsettling urgency propelling me forward, as if an unseen force compelled me to press on without hesitation. I found myself unable to halt, no matter the circumstances. In that instant, I stumbled upon Apollo, his anticipation palpable as he awaited my arrival. He always donned a soft coat, and as he turned towards me, the tension in the air thickened, revealing the contours of his muscles beneath his skin. As our gazes met, an unspoken yearning flickered between us, mirroring the deep longing that stirred within me. I refrained from alluding to anything at all. Silence enveloped the room, heavy and thick, as if the air itself held secrets too profound to be spoken. As I drew closer to him, my breath quickened, growing shallow and uneven. My heart raced with an urgency that felt almost palpable. My hands trembled as they made contact with him. As I ran my fingers through his hair, an unsettling jolt surged through me, igniting a tension that lingered in the air. A sensation coursed through me, an unspoken intensity that made every nerve in my body hum with an unsettling energy. Every fiber of my existence vibrated in response to his presence. Apollo's alluring voice drew me in, compelling me to step closer, my heart racing with uncertainty. I traced my fingers over his velvety fur, sensing the heat radiating from his form, a silent enigma resting beneath my touch. The feeling enveloped me, leaving me as vulnerable as a plucked bird, while the world around me blurred into obscurity, drawing me deeper into that singular moment. Confusion enveloped me, yet the thought of confronting it filled me with dread. I felt an unsettling urge to keep pushing forward. It seemed utterly unfeasible. In the stillness of the barn, Apollo's gentle breath filled the air, while the brush of his mane against my fingers sent shivers down my spine. An unspoken weight hung between us, thickening with each passing moment, palpable and suffocating. I edged nearer, pressing my body against his, feeling the heat that emanated from him. His warmth seeped into my very core, leaving an unsettling sensation in its wake. It felt as though every attempt to escape was thwarted by an unseen force. I found myself reluctant, caught in a web of uncertainty. Apollo shifted his stance, his head angling to brush against my neck, his warm breath ghosting over my skin. A sudden rush of warmth coursed through me, an unexpected feeling that left me momentarily stunned. I craved an elusive thrill. As I made my choice, I lifted my hand, brushing my fingertips against his face, lingering near his lips. It was at that exact moment that everything changed. Apollo leaned in, his nostrils flaring, and I could almost sense the rhythm of his pulse echoing alongside my own. For a fleeting instant, the world appeared to hold its breath. The vast expanse beyond the barn faded into nothingness. Uncertainty loomed over the unfolding events, leaving me in a state of bewilderment. The moment when the lines began to fade eludes my memory. In an instant, I found myself elsewhere, the familiar surroundings slipping away into shadows. I drew closer to his silhouette. My hands moved in ways I couldn't comprehend. The sensation of his muscles against my skin rendered me utterly speechless, and I found myself unable to resist the pull of the moment. I found myself in a haze, utterly captivated by the unfolding events. Every instinct within me craved an elusive element, a sensation that defied explanation. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty. Then, without warning, it struck me that I had ventured beyond a boundary just as I had begun. In the barn, an unsettling quiet was pierced by the sound of my shallow breaths, each rise and fall of my chest echoing in the stillness. His body heat enveloped the space, creating an unsettling atmosphere that left me feeling exposed and vulnerable. Following the separation, a fierce rhythm pulsed within my chest, and my body quaked under the weight of the aftermath. Yet I understood that once I stepped beyond that threshold, retreat would be impossible. In my heart, it was not merely a line, but a shadowy mark whose essence eluded my grasp. My thoughts were ensnared by the events that had unfolded. The way my very essence responded to Apollo, his mere presence, enveloped my senses in an unsettling embrace. I struggled to erase him from my thoughts, convincing myself it had merely been a fleeting lapse, yet the truth lingered, undeniable and haunting. Our connection deepened, and though I made an effort to ignore him, an unsettling sensation crept in, as if he were drawing me in entirely. Once again, my husband had departed, leaving me in solitude with my thoughts in the enigmatic presence of Apollo. He remained oblivious to the truth that despite our shared space, I had slipped away into the shadows of my own mind. The memory of the barn lingered in my mind, shrouded in shadows. Apollo's presence enveloped me, his warmth igniting a series of inexplicable sensations that stirred something deep within. A fragment of my being seemed to perceive an elusive truth, one that remained shrouded in shadows beyond my understanding. He could not be silenced, no matter the cost. He found himself enveloped in a relentless haze, yearning for his presence in every fleeting moment apart. The sensation of his breath against my skin, the heat radiating from his body so near to mine, consumed every thought in my mind. Each day, I found myself drawn to the barn, a place shrouded in secrets. Even with my husband's presence lingering nearby, I crafted reasons alluding to the necessity of inhaling the crisp air, taking a solitary stroll, or savoring a fleeting moment of tranquility. I had to keep my emotions hidden, concealing the turmoil that churned within me. In that critical instant, his longing for Apollo's presence overshadowed all else. An unspoken bond lingered in the air, heavy with unexpressed emotions. Each time he crossed the threshold of the barn, it felt as though he stepped into a realm where only Apollo and I lingered, shrouded in an unspoken tension that hung heavy in the air. In a realm where the clamor of existence faded into silence, leaving only the weight of unspoken truths and unfulfilled desires. Yet, as they approached the barn this time, an unsettling sense of change hung in the air, hinting at secrets waiting to be uncovered. Apollo was absent from the stable, his familiar presence replaced by an unsettling silence that hung in the air, leaving me to wonder where he had gone. I uttered his name, and the air thickened with unspoken secrets. My tone was calm, yet laced with an undeniable sense of urgency. I had always responded when I called him, but that time an unsettling silence enveloped the air. A shiver of dread coursed through my heart. I traversed the barn, moving cautiously from one side to the other, each door of the stables creaking open as I sought to uncover his whereabouts. Finally, his voice pierced through the silence. Sura's sigh echoed ominously in the dimly lit barn. I trailed him silently, my heart racing as I discovered him lurking at the far end of the barn. He stood there, gazing downward, lost in a labyrinth of thoughts that seemed to envelop him. As he gazed at me, a flicker of something unspoken danced in his eyes. He moved closer, each step deliberate, the tension in the air thickening with every heartbeat. I stood frozen, my gaze locked onto him as he drew nearer. And at that moment, he drew closer, his fingers brushing against me with a soft, deliberate touch. Yet, within me, a quiet restlessness began to awaken, a deep yearning, an unavoidable compulsion. As he delicately traced his fingers along his neck, a shiver escaped my lips, laden with unspoken emotions. Under my fingers, the muscle quivered, reacting to every subtle shift. An unspoken bond lingered in the air, a complex intimacy that defied easy description. I felt the space between us shrink, as if Apollo and I intertwined in a manner that transcended the physical realm. Providing an explanation felt utterly beyond my grasp. In that instant, it felt as though we had tapped into an entirely unfamiliar frequency, one that resonated deeply within me. Our connection had deepened to such an extent that it became nearly impossible to distinguish my essence from that of Apollo's. He absorbed each thought, each feeling that flickered in the shadows of my mind. He grasped the significance of every gesture as though an unspoken connection lingered between us. Our communication flowed effortlessly, each word carrying an unspoken weight. His presence enveloped me, a subtle yet unsettling force that lingered in the shadows. The warmth of his skin erased any lingering doubts that hung in the air. Silence hung in the air, heavy with unspoken words. Only we remained, shrouded in silence. An unspoken connection tethered us together. For a long while, I had refrained from probing into the cause of this unsettling predicament. The effort to grasp it seemed futile, shrouded in an unsettling uncertainty. Apollo shifted, his stance altering as his chest inched closer to mine, stirring a surprising feeling within me. His warm breath brushed against my skin, sending a shiver down my spine. As I shut my eyes, I felt that emotion seep into every corner of my existence. I brushed my fingers against his fur, sensing the warmth and an unsettling calm that it conveyed. I felt the rapid thumping of my heart, each beat echoing with an unsettling urgency. Yet it transcended mere physical closeness, a truth that lingered in the air, palpable and undeniable. The profound feeling arose from uncovering something that surpassed the ordinary. Apollo had transformed into something far more significant than a mere presence in my existence. He had transformed into something unrecognizable. No one else reached me in that manner, and I grasped it profoundly. Our eyes locked once more, and an electric tension surged between us, palpable and undeniable. The bond intensified, leading to both unsettling revelations and unexpected rewards. I felt a fleeting connection with him. He was more than an individual. We were a collective, bound by unseen threads. Without thinking, my hands moved toward his hair, drawing it closer to me. A heavy weight pressed down on me, the atmosphere thick with unspoken truths, as if reality itself was slipping away into shadows. Yet, a lingering awareness gnawed at me, whispering that such a choice was fraught with peril. The price would be steep, not merely in the loss of my husband, but in the very foundation of safety I had always known. I stood frozen, gripped by an overwhelming sense of dread. My husband stood there, anticipation hanging thick in the air, his gaze fixed on me, demanding a response. Yet I found myself at a loss for words. His expression held an enigmatic quality, a blend of suspicion and unsettling calm that left me feeling exposed. What words could capture the unfolding events between Apollo and me? How could I reveal the truth without shattering the fragile foundation we had painstakingly constructed in our relationship? Ultimately, my voice faltered, as though I were confronting a torrent of overwhelming emotions. In the stillness, I admit the truth of my deception. Yet my husband appeared to harbor doubts. The air between us crackled with unspoken words, his silence revealing truths that no elaborate dialogue could convey. Uncertainty loomed over me, casting a shadow on how long I could maintain the facade of silence. The weight of the truth pressed heavily, leaving me to question whether it was wise to hold on to it any longer. Even as turmoil raged within me, the presence of Apollo lingered in my mind, casting shadows of uncertainty. At times, when my husband departed, I found myself taken aback by the stillness that enveloped me, a longing for solace in his absence, even though I understood that this solace came with a price I was unwilling to pay. Perhaps uncertainty gripped me, leaving me hesitant to voice my thoughts. Yet, a profound shift had taken place. A haunting whisper echoed in my mind, signaling that retreat was no longer an option. The bond I shared with Apollo had evolved beyond mere physical allure. It possessed a profound complexity, teetered on the edge of danger, and surged with an electrifying intensity. My mind swirled with uncertainty, caught in a web of indecision, and I questioned his true intent to navigate the path home. How could I move forward in life, burdened by this contradiction, this enigma that devoured my very essence? How could I maintain the facade of my life, my marriage untouched by the shadows of change, while deep down, I knew a fragment of my very being had slipped away into the unknown? The escalating challenge of dismissing the shadows that enveloped me was unmistakable, yet the allure of Apollo persisted, drawing me in with an irresistible force, as if I were ensnared by an unseen hand from which escape was impossible. Could I abandon all that I know, relinquish my former existence for something so perilous yet alluring? The answer lay closer than I ever anticipated. I found myself at a crossroads, uncertainty hanging in the air. A longing stirred within me, an urge to unveil the truth, to voice the emotions that churned inside, yet it remained beyond my grasp. A part of me yearned to bring closure to it all, to unravel the deceit that had been intricately spun over the years. Conversely, the shadowy depths trembled at the thought of what lay beyond the veil of illusion. I revealed my lack of understanding, yet my tone betrayed a chilling disconnect from what I truly meant to convey. I lamented the frantic rhythm of my heart and the subtle quiver of my hands. With an intense gaze, he scrutinized me thoroughly before stepping back from the threshold and advancing toward my position. "I have been maintaining a certain distance, believing you required it," he said in a soft, nearly tender tone, yet laced with an undercurrent of worry. "Yet, this does not capture your true essence. You have revealed a different side of yourself." A silence enveloped me, leaving me with an unsettling sense of detachment and void. The woman he once called his wife had vanished, lost in a realm that felt foreign to me, a realm that no longer aligned with the stranger he had transformed into. I find myself in a state of well-being. Ultimately, I found the strength to voice my thoughts, fully conscious of the skepticism that lingered in his gaze. He found himself trapped in a web of doubt. He lingered for a moment longer, a flicker of realization crossing his face, before he turned and departed. He exited the room, shrouded in an unsettling quiet, leaving behind an unspoken tension. The silence that ensued was suffocating. I could hear the faint sounds of him shifting about in the kitchen. I realized he was grappling with pieces of a puzzle that seemed forever beyond his grasp. He yearned to slip away from my grasp, to dash towards the barn, to be near Apollo, where the only measure of time was the comforting heat of his presence and the serene moments we shared. Yet, it felt utterly beyond my reach. As the chill settled in, my mind was relentlessly drawn to that figure, shrouded in shadows. Apollo consumed my mind, wrapping me in a web of emotions that were nearly impossible to decipher. That afternoon, as my husband stepped out for his date, a decision began to form within me. In that fleeting instant, the weight of my choices loomed large, yet all I could grasp was the intensity of my emotions. As I stepped into the barn, Apollo awaited me, his presence as familiar as the shadows that danced in the dim light. In that instant, I found myself ensnared by his gaze, an inscrutable depth pulling me in, leaving me utterly transfixed. The connection we shared was palpable, an unseen thread that wove us together in that moment, isolated from the world around us. I drew closer, my fingers quivering as they brushed against his hair. On this occasion, an unfamiliar presence emerged, one that carried a weight and intensity far beyond what had come before. In an instant, my body surrendered to a profound stillness, while an overwhelming sense of yearning washed over me, enveloping my very being. A void enveloped my thoughts. My mind was a tempest of confusion. Out of nowhere, a sound pierced the silence. I was present. In an instant, my eyes flew open and my heart felt as though it had ceased to beat. I hurried away, my breath unsteady, scanning the dimly lit corners of the barn. The sound was unlike anything my husband would make, yet it sent a shiver down my spine, urging me to remain vigilant. Apollo's gaze pierced through me, his body tense and unyielding. Yet the bond that tethered us was unyielding, a force that could not be broken. Everything around us exuded an unsettling stillness, as if time itself had come to a halt. In that instant, I caught the faint creak of the door to his room, a sound that sent a shiver down my spine. As the barn creaked open, a whisper of movement filled the air. I felt my husband's distinctive voice echoing in the shadows, wrapping around me like a shroud. I arrived, a sense of unease hanging in the air. In an instant, I found myself frozen, caught in a web of uncertainty. I stood frozen, paralyzed by an unseen force. Each step I took toward the barn echoed ominously in my mind, stirring memories of a haunting tale long buried. The truth has become too heavy for that space. The truth was closing in on me, and there was nowhere left to retreat. The truth lingered in the shadows, on the verge of revelation. I regret any inconvenience caused. I whispered under my breath, the words slipping out like secrets in the dark. Yet no response came from him. Silence hung thick in the air, a weighty presence that spoke volumes without a single sound. The look on his face betrayed a deep, unspoken anguish. The chasm that had formed between us seemed insurmountable, an unspoken truth lingering in the air. The circumstances surrounding Apollo and me had reached a point of no return. The narration unfolded towards its tragic conclusion, shrouded in uncertainty about the path ahead or the yearning to pursue it. A complete metamorphosis had unfolded. My very being, my core, had unraveled into a tapestry of confusion and disarray, leaving me grappling with the unfathomable. In that exact moment, as the stillness enveloped us, I realized that the path back to family had vanished forever. Everything was on the brink of transformation. The circumstances had shifted dramatically now. In this manner, akin to the fragments of a shattered enigma, everything collapsed. What was once regarded as a certainty now looms with an unsettling inevitability. It inevitably reveals itself, even when the truth is hard to confront. What do you think might unfold following this revelation? What might be the present outcome for the protagonist? We invite you to express your thoughts in the comments section below. Your thoughts would be greatly appreciated. If this tale captivated you and you yearn for more narratives that echo its essence, ensure you subscribe and turn on notifications to stay informed of every unfolding mystery. We stand poised to unveil new experiences alongside you. Certainly, feel free to pass this video along to your friends, allowing them to delve into this intriguing tale.